In case you guys missed it, the Department of Justice just quietly dropped their appeal of the so-called unconstitutional carry ban case. Yeah, the same DOJ that originally wanted to keep pushing this fight all the way through the courts decided, you know what? Never mind. Now you might be asking yourself, why is this a big deal? Because this isn't just about one guy carrying a gun into the post office. This is about whether the federal government can keep creating these sensitive places out of thin air where your constitutional rights simply just vanish. They don't exist. And the fact that they dropped the appeals case tells you everything that you need to know about how weak their case really was. All right, so here's the background story. Here's what happened. You have a guy named Emmanuel Ayala. He's a postal worker here in Tampa, Florida. He walked into a post office with a firearm and a fanny pack. Yes, I know, in a fanny pack. Putting that aside for the moment, this guy is a completely legal gun owner. He even had his Florida concealed carry permit, which nowadays isn't required, but nonetheless, he still had his Florida concealed carry permit. But because the post office is a federal piece of property, he was arrested for bringing a gun into a federal facility. Now, under normal circumstances, the Department of Justice, they would have said, well, too bad, rules are the rules. But Ayala challenged the charges, and in January 2024, Judge Kathryn Mizelle, she dropped a hammer on the government's argument. She basically said, there is zero historical tradition in America that supports banning firearms in the post office. Historically, the government used to arm mail clerks when they were getting robbed. So how can you call it a sensitive place if the solution back then wasn't to ban guns, but to carry more of them? Now, of course, the Department of Justice, they appealed. They weren't about to let one federal judge derail their precious list of places where they think that your rights just magically disappear. But fast forward to a few weeks ago, under new leadership, the Department of Justice decided to drop the appeal completely. Their official excuse? It's not a good use of prosecutorial resources. Translation? We knew that we were about to get our ass whooped. We knew that we were gonna lose. So instead of getting slapped down by the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, we're just gonna bow out and hope nobody notices. And you might be asking yourself, why does this even matter? Well, let me tell you. If the Department of Justice had won, that precedent would have made it almost impossible to challenge federal sensitive place bans in the future. But since they dropped it, Judge Mizelle's ruling stands. That means, in her jurisdiction at least, the idea of post offices are automatically gun-free zones just got shot down. All puns intended. Now, this isn't just about post offices either. This is about the Bruen decision, which said that gun laws have to line up with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. The DOJ knew that if this went further, the courts would dig deeper into the history, and the government's whole sensitive place argument would collapse under its own weight. Because let's be real, if the stagecoach mail carrier in the 1800s was allowed to carry a gun to protect mail, then why shouldn't a modern-day postal worker in 2025 be treated like a criminal for doing the same exact thing? So what we're watching here is that the government realizing that the Bruen decision has real teeth. They can't just say that this is a sensitive place because we said so. They actually have to prove that there is historical tradition that backs it up. And the truth is, there is none. In my opinion, the bigger picture, this ruling cracks the door wide open for challenges to other federal gun bans. So think about it. If post offices can't automatically be called sensitive places, what about libraries? What about parks? What about other random government buildings that they've slapped gun-free signs on? The DOJ knows that they can't fight every single one of those battles without risking more nationwide precedent being set against them. So instead, what do? They cut their losses and they bailed on this case. So here's the bottom line. The DOJ dropping this appeal is a win for the Second Amendment. It shows that when we fight these cases in court, we can win. It shows that the government doesn't always have the law or history on their side. And it proves that the Bruen decision just isn't lip service. It's challenging the way the courts finally look at the Second Amendment. Now, don't get it twisted, because the fight is not over. It's far from it. Ayala still faces resisting charges, and you can bet that the government will try to carve out some new restrictions anywhere they can, but the tide is finally shifting into our favor, and the government knows it. So I'm curious, what do you guys think? Do you think that post offices should be treated as sensitive places, or should they be just like any other public space where your rights don't just magically disappear? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Smash that like button if you're glad to see the Department of Justice take an L, and subscribe if you want more breakdowns of the biggest two-way cases in this country. And guys, don't forget, stay armed, stay educated, and I'll see you at the next gun show. Take care, y'all.